Good morning, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. I think it's pretty good. I think we've got it sorted this morning. Hopefully everyone's awesome and well. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Morning, Brendan, Nicole, Sharon, Alison, Chris, and good morning to you guys. Hope you've had an awesome weekend, wherever you are. On the home run right now, on the home stretch. This is the last few live Wealth Coffee Chats, folks. So the rest of this week will be the last few for the year. I'll take a little bit of a break over Christmas. Maybe we'll do a bit of a highlights. We've got a bit of a highlights reel, some of the better ones that we did this year. So keep an eye out for that. I might even drop in for one or two lives here or there, but you never know. But there you go. Hey, welcome. Good to see all of you guys. If anyone's new, if you're new to mentoring, new to the Wealth Coffee Chat morning, Jason Witten's my name. Down there it says, hey, g'day to you. Give us a shout out in the chat if you are new. Tell us where you're dialing in from, and tell us what you're doing. What are you up to? Where are you hailing from? Hey, each morning for almost a couple of years now, been getting together with some crazy cats like yourself who are into property investing. Call the Wealth Coffee Chat. I've been investing over 20 years, coaching property investors over 18. Bingo! How are you, mate? Good to see you. Sean, good to see you too, mate. So, what I thought we'd do today is just talk about the types of the 4 styles of income that can come from owning a piece of residential real estate. Residential real estate. I'm not talking about commercial or industrial or any of that sort of stuff today. 4 styles of income, folks, that we can generate using residential real estate, and maybe talk about what those are today, because there's one of these styles of real estate is having quite the pressure at the moment, and I think next year is going to be a good time to take advantage of that, and maybe even have one or two of your properties in your portfolio if you have the right type of property to take advantage of this type of income manipulation, income acceleration for your real estate potentially next year. Or maybe even now, but next year for sure. So as I'm chatting, as I'm setting this up, tell me, what do you guys think? What are the 4 types of income? It might be a bit of a trick question. 4 types of income that you can generate from residential real estate. Because right now, in the past couple of years, the world of Airbnb, hey, morning, my love. And what types of rents, Sharon, it's kind of like a trick question. I'm not asking the question properly because I don't want to give the answer away. Yes, rent and tax return. That is, you can generate some cash flow from that, or some cash back. But more specifically, I'm talking about the styles of income you can get from the property. So one of those styles of income, ladies and gents, one of those styles of income is short-term income. If you see this little article on the screen here right now, and this is an article from the Fin Review, and it's saying there are thousands of short-term rental listings, listings in New South Wales that are now not compliant with the short stay. Yes, Sharon, the short stay legislation, and so it's quite an interesting one. That there is some challenges in the short stay marketplace in Australia. And now the borders are unlocked, or most of them anyway, and people are travelling, and there's a lot of holidays at home. And so the short-term rental accommodation stuff is actually set to have an absolute boom when it comes to Australia. I do know some people that I know really well have just paid, get this folks, for 10 days $102,000. I'll say that again. $102,000 for 10 days on this super mega luxury property for short stay in Australia, not overseas, in Australia. Anyway, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's going on and a bit of a strategy chat about the idea of the 4 types of income we can generate from our residential rental properties, okay? And if we look at what we have a regular residential property. Every day of the week, you can long. I'm going to change the colours on this so it's actually better. You can long rent the property, and I don't think that's the right term, but I'm going to use it today. Long rent. So what is long rent? Usually in the marketplace, it's usually a 6-month term or a 12-month term. The property is empty. It comes as is. There's no furniture, and it's usually the most common form of rental income from your real estate. Okay, it's the most common form of rental income from your real estate. But this is only one way of generating income from a piece of real estate that you have. Okay, either real estate that you have, or, ladies and gents, real estate that you could go ahead and purchase and buy. So this long rent, usually the going rate, 6% is probably a bit 6% is probably a bit high at the moment, but the income, gross income, that's the kind of range, okay? 12-month rental, you sign the tenant signs a lease and away we go, okay? So that's the first version of the world. And I believe that most of your portfolio, if we're looking at this today, let's have a think about this. I believe most of your portfolio, anywhere between sort of 50 to 80% of your portfolio should be on the long rent plan. It should be stable, it should be simple, it should be low fuss, and that is so reliable, ladies and gents. It's the most reliable investment income on the planet, okay? It is being tested. Residential real estate, you get paid weekly, abracadabra. Australia is amazing for it. Other countries in the world have a bit more volatility, but it's the most reliable income stream you can find, all right? So number 2, let's have a look at what we're talking about here when we come to the property, okay? The second style of income is what I would call multi-tenant income, okay? Multi-tenant income. So how does this work? There's a few versions of the world of this multi-tenancy income. So some people can rent their properties by the room. Now, this happens often in places where there's education facilities, let's say universities, etc. This happens often in cities. This happens often when it comes to there's a little bit of legislation at the moment where you can retrofit existing houses into multi-tenancy properties when it comes to like a boarding house almost, and there's depending on the city that you're in, Brisbane's got certain legislation for it and so on. So multi-tenancies, there's some purpose-built multi-tenancy properties, okay? Dual occupancy, yes, Brendan. So for example, you can pretty well anywhere in Australia, you can build a dual key, 2 doors, 2 tenancies under one roof, pretty well anywhere in Australia when it comes to a brand new property. So instead of building a 5-bedroom regular house, you build a 3-bedroom apartment and a 2-bedroom apartment all under one roof. Multi-tenancy, okay? So you go, I get a 3-bed and a 1-bed almost not too far, probably about 40 to 50 grand more than just a regular everyday house, okay? And then, yeah, don't squash 6 families in there with dividing walls. Yeah, exactly, Alison. There has to be, the property has to be compliant, team, okay? And Alison makes a good point. You know, if you're crushing people into houses that aren't compliant, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. So don't do it, okay? It's not worth it. One problem, and then every single bit of extra money that you think you've earned is going to be disappear overnight. So you can do dual occupancy, multi-tenancy, rent by room, etc., etc. That style of real estate is quite good. Now, that can range, team, anywhere from sort of 6, you know, maybe even over 10%. Now, this one is a lot more active, okay? There's a lot more wear and tear on your property. There's more people, there's more activity, there's ins and outs, there's that you have to find a specialist agent, okay? Often a special rental agent, okay? They have to specialize in that sort of stuff. Over here, you can find, you know, an everyday regular one. Now, all of us know that we need a great one to look after our properties. But, you know, again, this, for many of us, I would say, you know, maybe 10 to 20% maximum of our portfolio in this style of investment income. It's a bit more volatile. It's much more hands-on, but you can get a bit of extra income. What are some of the challenges with this style of property, folks? Tell me what some of the challenges are with this style of property. We already mentioned it before. There's certain zoning and there's certain wear and tear, there's certain expenses, etc., etc. So the multi-tenancy real estate, okay, as we go along. Now, another one that's there right now is that maybe a few of you guys have heard NDIS, where you can, you know, apply for a government scheme and get, you know, the government to pay your rent. Or pay your tenant's rent, anyway, as we go along. So long rent, this is still often long rent. Morning, Michelle. Good to see you. This is still long rental on a property, but you're sort of renting, you know, multiple rooms, you're renting multiple properties, etc., etc. I like this one, nothing wrong with it, but don't do too much of it. It's volatile, etc., etc. Okay, unless you're going to specialize in it. Okay, unless you're going to specialize in it as we go. Now the next one, which as Sharon said before, which is good. And this is the one that I, myself and Sam, and quite a lot of statistics and stats are showing right now that is going to have, excuse me, going to have quite a lot of pressure and some boom time opportunities for those who manage to rent these properties pretty well. Hang on 2 seconds. Got a little bit of what do they call a frog in my... All right, there you go. Trying to get it out. Okay, so this one is short stay, short rent, okay? And what do we mean by short rentals? Well, there's a couple of versions of the world. The short rental stuff, 99% of the time, equals it's got furniture in it. Furniture. I think that's furniture. Anyway, up here, both of these are empty. No furniture, no furniture, okay? Those styles up there, you're just providing the property. People move in and bring their own stuff. Down here, the short rent often is furnished, often is furnished, most of the time is furnished, and short rent can, you know, rent often in a package, you know, especially on Airbnb or stays or whatever. You don't want to be any less than 2 to 3 days minimum booking. But, you know, you're 2 to 3 days. You're kind of like a quasi-hotel, okay? So that's awesome. So this is kind of Airbnb style. Airbnb. Away you go. Now, I know a few people, myself included, who've got sort of properties that like some extra land or whatever it might be, that you can get a dwelling, not even a dwelling, a funky little overnight stay, like a caravan, like a tiny home, like a little kind of safari tent, funky thing, whatever, and short stay rent that out. I was doing it down at my farm. I was actually just renting it out as a campsite. Tiny house, go Michelle. My farm, I rent out 3 campsites, so they're just mowed areas where people can come and camp. On UCamp, check it out. Go check out the website called UCamp, folks. It's super cool. If you've got a little bit of dirt somewhere, some private camping, it's absolutely awesome. I made thousands and thousands of dollars just renting out the dirt that I wasn't using anyway, which was super cool, right? So 2 to 3 days Airbnb, UCamp, you name it, all sorts of stuff. It can be anywhere from a little bloody tent all the way up to, all sorts of different stuff, okay? And also in here, there's the short stay can work very nicely. I've got a property up in Brisbane, a 1-bedroom apartment up in Brisbane, fully furnished in a really nice location, very close to the hospital and the university. And I short rent it on a 3-month cycle, and it's nearly always been full for about 5 years, to travelling professors and or doctors who are coming up to Brisbane and need to be close to the hospital or the university. Now, and again, you guys know this as investors in the marketplace. You've heard of Airbnb and short staying and furnished rentals and stuff like that. Now, short rent I think is fantastic. Okay. Now, for me, again, I wouldn't be putting too much of my portfolio into the short rent scenario. And if you are a new investor, if you've got less than 3 or 4 properties maybe, short renting is not for the faint-hearted. You can have no income for a month or 2 months, and then you've got a truckload of income for 1 month, and then you've got no income, and it's quite up and down, around. So it is not for people who are on a budget, not for those who've got to keep it tight, got to know every cent, because let's say you're first starting out and you're trying to get your momentum. This is not for you, okay? I would say kind of my rule would be probably the 3rd or the 4th property onwards. That's what I would say. I wouldn't be doing it if it's just 1 or 2 properties. It's way too volatile for your income and your psychology, okay? Away you go. So there you go. So the short rent, and there Bob was saying, during a pandemic. So, the short-term rent stuff has been like pretty bashed up in recent times. And then you had the New South Wales legislation change. Most short-term properties in New South Wales were non-compliant, and the ones that were compliant were booked out like truckloads and charged absolute arms and legs. So they were booming, like absolutely crushing it. So think about that as we go, folks, all right? So short rent. So next year, we've been working very hard at Positive to be able to facilitate this short rent income booster for you guys. And Sam's going to bust that open next year. And, things like properties close to hospitals are amazing for this short rent stuff, okay? So next year, keep an eye out on it, folks, because we believe this stuff is going to absolutely explode next year and the year after, and it's going to be great for people's income. So short rent, don't have to rabbit on too much more about that one, right? As we go. So, couple of questions there. Brendan said, "Is NDIS good in your opinion?" Yes, it's great, Brendan. There are challenges with it, lending issues. Your ability to lend on it is probably going to be restricted to maximum 80%, maybe even 70%. And that's some of the challenges of these things where you go, oh, that's a great income. And then, you haven't got any leverage. So, and it's certainly not for investors for their first investment property and that sort of thing. All right. So don't do it like that. Oh, that's interesting, Bob. So, there's some restrictions. There are restrictions in short-term rentals when it comes to councils and zoning, and there are restrictions when it comes to the building and the locations. So keep an eye out on that. If you're going to short rent, you got to know what's what and where you can do it. Okay. And the last but not least, the other rental income from residential real estate. You guys know this one. If you've been in our mentoring program, this one, okay. Over here, the income you're going to get from this, again, short rents can easily go from 6 to 10% as well. So on this side, you're getting sort of sporadic but boosted income, okay? Equity arbitrage. Equity arbitrage here. So this last part is not necessarily renting out the property itself, but what are you renting here? Tell me, just think of it this. What are you renting out here when you're using equity arbitrage, folks? What are you renting out? What are you renting? Chuck it in the chat for me. You've got an asset, you've got something here of value, you're going to rent it to someone else, all right? What are you renting to someone else? You're renting your equity / cash, all right? Leverage, exactly, Chriso. Right, what you're renting is your equity / cash. You've got some equity in here, okay, that you're not using, that someone else could use in a joint venture, e.g., the couple of the joint ventures we did with you guys this year. You've got some money, you can unlock it at 3%. We can use it to create some value, make a profit, and for the risk, you're going to get paid 15 to 20% at the end. It might take 12 months, it might take 2 years, okay? So equity arbitrage, okay? So there's the 4 types of income, and to be honest, if you buy the right property, ladies and gents, if you buy the right property, you could do all 4 of the income streams on the one property. All right, you can cycle it through. You could be short renting, high income, and equity arbitraging at the same time. Right? You could be multi-tenanting in the right location, like holiday locations, e.g. one of those locations right now is something like Byron or, one of those Noosa or whatever. You could be multi-tenanted, short stay, and equity arbitrage at the same time. Imagine that. Anyway, I'm a big fan. I'm a massive fan of having one of these income streams going, and when it's safe enough, when it's smart enough, equity arbitrage your property's values. It doesn't have to be in another joint venture for development. It can be other stuff too. So there you go. Anyway, hopefully that was useful this morning. Hopefully that got the juices flowing, folks, and maybe give you something to think about. But yeah, next year, listen, we're going to be looking at some of the short stay investing ideas because there is massive opportunity in that to go with, the massive shortage in stock around Australia. You name it. There's going to be some pretty interesting forces come into play in 2022. Listen, 2021's not over, by the way, folks. Don't take your foot off the pedal. December's a great time to be putting your foot on a deal. That is for sure. So don't slow down. Anyway, that's it, folks. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. I don't know why I'm yelling today. Was I too loud today? I was a bit excited. There you go. All right, Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. Monday the 13th. You guys be awesome. Be well wherever you are. Wherever you are, get into it. Hey, that's a great idea, Alison. You should reach out to Sam, Alison, and collab with him. Do a bit of a collab on the short stay assignment. He'd love that. There you go. Anyway, I'm just rabbiting on now, talking a bunch of rubbish. All right, take care, you guys. You guys be awesome. Join me tomorrow at about the same time, 8:05 as always, for another Wealth Coffee Chat. Be well.